we're spinning, but we haven't for the longest time been winning. That has changed now, though, because now our spinning also results in winning. We're able to one-tap all the pinnacle bosses, speed farm all T4 content, and we're also running Pit 100s in 2 to 3 minutes in suboptimal gear. It's easy to get online, and of course it's fun as fuck to play. So let's cover everything you need to get this beauty of a build online, along with some different ways to play it. Because you can decide for yourself if you want to be a cuckboy and play with a sword and board, or go balls deep and rock the new Red Sermon two-handed sword. It's also possible to play the build as an evade build and just using the scroll wheel to kill enemies. Personally, I'm quite sick of the playstyle myself, but the option is there if you like it. Alright, so how does the build function? It's easy. We have our Zeal skill, we press it, we spin, and we win. But to be able to do that, we need one key component, and that is the Death or Glory enhancement. This is what turns Zeal from a stinky old cleaving ability to an actual spin to win skill. And to grab it, we have two options. We either go sword and board and grab it manually, which has the upside of making you tanky as fuck. Or we play for fun and massive damage and grab the Red Sermon sword, getting the bonus automatically, along with a bunch of lovely damage bonuses for a massive damage increase compared to the sword and board setup at the expense of defenses. Now, this enhancement does have one downside. It will kill you as it spends life instead of resources. So how do we offset this? Easy. We're going to grab life on hit and combine this with the Holy Light Aura. And we can do one better, because we're also going to rock wolves in this setup for additional companions, and with each companion, we're granting them the Holy Light Aura for even more life on hits, essentially making us immortal. And what's even better is that these Holy Light Auras have a respectable lucky hit chance as well. And this is important because one of the downsides of Zeal is that its lucky hit is abysmal. But by combining it with Holy Light Aura and pet stacking, we can rock the Ahu and Cax rune combo to double our damage with ease, especially if you avoid some of the mistakes I did when gearing. Don't worry, I'll show you where so you don't fuck up as well. What's truly fun about this build, though, is the amount of attacks we're able to dish out. Because due to Zeal being a Zealot skill, we're going to rock the Zealot Oath. And with this Oath, we're able to double and triple dip via attack speed. And what does this mean for us? Correct. We're going to stack as much attack speed as humanly possible. And with that, we're also stacking up the amount of fun we're able to generate. Because what's better than dishing out a gazillion attacks per second? That's right, nothing. Alright, so that's a bit of the basics. Let's check out the skills used in the build, and then we'll look at some of the gearing mistakes you want to avoid. Starting with our Falling Star. Other than the obvious of using it for mobility, this is also our main source of weakened in the build for 20% damage reduction. So when running pits or whatnot, you ideally want to hit it right on top of your enemies. And if you're pushing, you want to use it every 4 seconds or so to keep the debuff up, in case you don't want to die, that is. When it comes to the Defiance Aura, this is mad important. It generates armor, where armor equals big damn, equals massive schlong, resistances to stay alive, and perhaps most importantly, resolve stacks for 20% damage reduction. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but we're playing an Arbiter build, where Arbiter of Justice generates a bunch of bonuses for us. For starters, it maxes out our movement speed. Secondly, it triggers Vulnerable on all enemies around us. And thirdly, we can use the Celestial Strife aspect, which is arguably one of the best aspects in the entire game, granting us a 3x multiplier once fully charged. The only thing we then need to do to keep it up constantly is to grab some cooldown reduction, along with the Resplendence glyph to reset its cooldown whenever we spam our auras, and we'll keep both Arbiter and the aspect up permanently. Then, Fanaticism Aura. This thing is so unbelievably good for this build. It generates crit chance, so we basically don't need any. It grants us crit damage. It's an aura. so we can use it to reset our cooldowns, but the absolute best part is the fact that it boosts our attack speed in the second attack speed bucket. And with that, we're gaining a massive attack speed bonus and more damage for our Perragons later on. And I'm not done, because by using the Red Sermon Sword, we're gaining Zealot skill ranks, meaning we can get a whopping 10 ranks for Fanaticism Aura for free when we're boosting our Zeal. Just lovely. Finally, we have our Holy Light Aura, which heals us by triggering life on hit, along with granting us insane amounts of Cax triggers when paired with the Wolf Companions. And how many triggers are insane amounts of triggers exactly? Well, this is where I fucked up. I did not expect it to trigger this frequently, so I currently don't have enough faith regeneration to offset keeping Cax up permanently. So what you actually want to do if you're min-maxing this build is to grab a temper for lucky hit chance to restore resources and grab cooldown reduction elsewhere. Once I've found some gear replacements, this should likely net me 30% more damage or so, keep this in mind when we're checking out the gear. And for the final skill, we have Zeal. The reason the Red Sermon Sword is bonkers is due to the fact that its enhancements are also bonkers. And by using this sword, we can grab 2. Zealot's Legacy more or less doubles our damage, but we want death or glory for the Spin2win. And that is why you want the Red Sermon rather than a stinky old shield if you want maximum clearing capabilities. Alright, so that's the skills. Let's check out all of the gear now and what you're looking for. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, the Crimson Market. In just 8 days from now, they're giving away a banger PC. A PC that you can win for free, by the way, just by clicking the link in the description. You simply become a member, join for as long as you want, and you'll accumulate points that will be used in a draft for a PC worth upwards of 10,000 US dollars. And to show an example what they can build you, take a look at this one-of-a-kind Lilith PC. You just tell them what you want, and they'll make it. So make sure to click my link, become a member just like myself, and you'll have a chance of winning a bunch of rewards. Alright, for the gear, I'm currently rocking 2 mythics. Do you need them? Not at all. They're only a marginal damage increase. You'll find an alternative version in the planner for the dogshit newbies. Starting with the helmet, we have Air of Perdition. We use this for the core skill ranks and the damage increase. The other stats are, however, complete garbage for this build, as we're already crit chance capped. This also means that you're not losing a whole lot if you're just grabbing any other helmet. And please, ignore the number of sockets on this item. I don't want to hear it. For chest, we have Shroud of False Death. If you can only craft 1 mythic, then go for this one, because the Paladin passives are just stupid broken. Then, we're slapping on the Tamche rune combo to spawn our lovely wolf buddies. When it comes to the gloves, we want the Zealot's Covenant aspect for giga damage and start stacking up our attack speed. To cap attack speed in the first attack speed bucket, you're going to need around 55% attack speed on your gear, depending on your glyph level, as we're getting a lot of attack speed from the Perragons. Then, start stacking up Zeal ranks, strength and max life, along with Zeal size either here or on your sneakers. For the Pantaloonies, we want just the regular stats, strength, armor and max life, along with filling out with faith per second for our Cax rune, and Engard tempers for armor, and for aspect, the Indomitable aspect for a buttload of armor. When it comes to the sneakers, we do exactly the same. But either here or on your gloves, you abso-fucking-lutely need Arbiter Duration. Ideally, you would masterwork it as well, as you'll save some cooldown reduction rolls in that case. And for aspect, the Wild Bolt aspect boosts our damage slightly, so we go for that. When it comes to the Red Sermon, I already had too much life on hit in my build. So guess what fucking Sanctify I get? Yeah, obviously even more life on hit. But either way, You want one with GA on the Zealot skills and double Zeal damage, so you'll get that to 100%. Then we add the AHU and QAX rune combo here. And speaking of too much life on hit, you only need 400-ish to sustain. I have 400 on my rings in total, and if I remove the sermon, I'll easily sustain my life even on single target. Meaning you don't need life on hit on your rings with this build, which again means I fucked up when gearing. You'll have the ideal setup in the planner. When it comes to the amulet, you can splurge as much gold as possible here. You just want a fuckton of passive ranks and imprint the Celestial Strife aspect. And since most builds use Celestial Strife on the amulet, you're safe to spend all of your gold here even if you want to play other builds and sanctify that shit. And finally, the rings. We have Jacques Fervor, and on the other ring you want to have Revelator's aspect. I only have the Virtuous aspect due to it being an old ring, but Revelator's is more damage. For the stats, first focus on getting GA attack speed to cap that shit, and then grab Strength, Max Life, and ideally cooldown reduction, so you can keep Arbiter up while getting a lucky hit chance to restore Resources Temper rather than Arbiter cooldown. Hey, good job, friends! That's the gear complete. Let's see what our Merc is up to. Raher is used for Fortify, Armor, Defense, and some lovely damage. For the other one, we're using the Creepy Child for his damage reduction. You can also use the Cannibal Baddie if you're not attack speed capped yet. And for the Divine Gifts, we have Lies, which is more or less your main source of Fortify, Screams for the All Rees, Sin for Armor, and Pain for the Hail Mary Barrier. Hey, will you look at that? It's skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it. The basic skills are getting the wet fart treatment. Instead, grab Zeal with Zealot's Legacy for Giga damage. Or if you're using a Shield, Death, or Glory, then it's all about the passives for a bunch of armor and damage before heading off to grab Fanaticism Aura for its crit chance, attack speed, and crit damage. We also grab Defiance Aura along with Rite of Prayer for resolve stacks and DR, along with the Holy Light Aura for the gazillion reasons mentioned earlier, along with a bit of Fortify. In the Valor tree, we grab our Falling Star for mobility and weakened, along with even more crazy passives for a lot of extra damage. And once we get here, there's whole clusters full of crazy strong passives. Pretty much any that has the word damage on it is fantastic to have on your amulet. Finally, the ultimate tree, where we find even more damage passives, our Arbiter of Justice for Arbiter form, and lastly, the Coat of Arms passive for extra damage. Or if this bonus grants you less than 100% damage, then you can use Path of the Penitent instead, as this grants you exactly 100% extra damage. Great job, friends. Skill tree complete. Hey, while you're here, how about dropping a sub? It surely won't hurt. And then, we'll check out the Perragons. When it comes to the Perragons, you have a few priorities. As always, you go for the legendary nodes and glyphs first. Then, you want the attack speed nodes in the Preacher board to cap it for maximum damage. And finally, you go for any defensive node you can find, especially if you're using the red Sermon Sword, where armor and max life are your main prios, together with total resistances. Once you've got all this, then you can start dumping the remaining nodes around your glyphs and pick up some damage magic and rare nodes. But this is the least of your priorities. Starting us off with the starting board, we go for Challenger, as Strength is beyond broken for this class, boosting both our damage and armor. We then go for Fervent, which is a 100% damage increase, as we'll have 4 Fervor stacks, along with capping our crit chance without relying on our gear to do it. Here we also slot in Outmatch, which is fantastic for its damage, along with the fact it uses Strength, and also boosts the nearby Strength rare nodes, Yummers. After that, we go for Castle and stack as much armor as possible followed by grabbing the Feverious Glyph for a hefty damage multiplier. Next, we chuck a UE and fuck off all the way to the Preacher board, which is the reason we want to stack as much attack speed as possible, along with this board having attack speed all over the place. We also combine the Resplendence Glyph, which is how we reset our cooldowns if you forgot, with the nearby attack speed nodes to boost them for nearly 40% attack speed. And finally, we go to grab the Shield Bearer board, which is fantastic as long as you're stacking on guard ranks on your gear, along with slotting in the Honed Glyph for added faith generation and a lovely crit multi. It's also possible to use the Relentless board to get extra cooldown reduction, but you need to keep moving to keep that damage bonus up, and I'm on occasion too lazy to do that, so I went with Shield Bearer instead. Hey, will you look at that? We managed to complete the whole build guide. Let's just quickly check out how you play the build so you don't fuck it up and come crying in the comments. There's not a whole lot to think about when playing this build. You basically press all of your auras and Arbiter of Justice when they're off cooldown, with the exception of Defiance Aura, which you can save for when you're crowd controlled. When it comes to the remaining skills, you have your Falling Star for mobility, but also for weakened. So make sure to dump it on top of your enemies to get the 20% damage reduction. And finally, Zeal. You just spam it as much as possible. But here, I do want to give you a tip if you're playing on PC, which you should be unless you're a glue-eating baboon. You simply want to go into Controls and go to Hold Position. You then want to set it to whatever your hold position is along with your Zeal button. So for me, it's Control and right-click. This allows you to spam the ability instantly in place, as it would otherwise walk you across the room to the enemy you were pointing at when you casted the ability. This is not a problem on controller, but for some reason, this dog shit mechanic is in the game on PC. So remove it, thank me later, and I'll see you in the next one.